Hello, good evening, and welcome back. So we're getting ever nearer to the 12th of April, which is when supposedly things are supposed to open up in order for us to get out and about and meet up with people in a more socialised manner. That is to say, of course, to include pubs and the like. However, of course, now we've got every customer must sign in when pubs reopen. Yes, they are taking register, but not just like before, where of course you're escorted to a table and the group leader, for want of a better word, has to sign in for the rest of the group and provide their phone number. But instead now, every single person has to sign in. What kind of checks will there be here? Will it be the same sort of thing where you just have to put it on an anonymous slip and they don't check that you've actually provided your real name and or phone number? Quite possibly, in which case there is an easy way around this. But for a lot of people, are they actually going to be intent to write their names and numbers down? No. Do they want to go through the hassle? No. Seeing as we've been through lockdown so long, people are going to go, okay, well, I can buy a pint of beer from a supermarket for £1.50 compared to, how much at a pub? £5? Oh, no. I think I'm gonna pass on that. Even if you go to Wetherspoon, where the cheapest I've seen is $2.15 or maybe $1.69, depending on what you're going for, then even then, people are going to go, nah, I'd rather just stay home instead, to be quite honest with you. That it's really going to call into question just how much the pints of beer are worth at pubs. And of course, there is the argument that having it draft or from the cask is different to buying it in cans and bottles, by all means, but then especially when it comes to cocktails or spirits, shorts, that kind of things, that there's going to be a lot of hesitation and apprehension to actually go back and have these things. Bear in mind, we've seen such a huge boom in subscription services, whether they be like Beer 52 for alcohol or Gusto or Blue Apron for food, that they've taken off like never before, and restaurants that previously used to rely on people eating in have now expanded to subscription services to send their food out to customers to cook for themselves. And this of course does reduce the cost. That people are going to be thinking, to be honest with you, having to have the hassle of going out and then understanding that I can't drive home, and then of course understanding that I got to pay a lot more than I would just staying back home, I think I'd rather just have people around to my place, to be perfectly honest with you. And then I can drink the most, and or people can just spend the night over here. I got a sofa or two, we got an inflatable mattress, why not? Or if you really like each other, share your bed. We've all been young at one stage, but by all means, go ahead, and you're going to find that is a heck of a lot cheaper. So what is going to be the fallout from this? Well, unfortunately, there's going to be such a big delay, as there has been, from people being able to attend pubs. And of course there's going to be the hype, and hence you've got waiting lists and having to sign up in order to reserve the table for your 90-minute slot and all that horseshit. But for me, I'm seeing that a lot of people are just not really going to bother. They're going to say, cool, well, we're allowed to socialise with other people more, so we haven't got to worry about bloody Karens in our neighbourhood calling the police on us. But we'd rather just spend it with ourselves, to be honest with you. Or we'd rather just supposedly start a business in order for us to say, yes, this is a business meeting, and we're making beer, we're making craft ale, and therefore we're sampling it, and then we can't drive home afterwards. So yeah, we've got to stay the night here. It's a shame, and we really wish it wasn't the case, but we are a business after all, and quality checks have to be done. So what can you do about it? There's going to be that kind of thing instead, or not even making craft beer, but we're reviewing alcohol, and therefore we have to sample it, and we're together to bounce ideas off of. And well, we can't drive home after that. So we're just trying to be safe, don't you know? That's all we're trying to do. As far as I'm concerned, that's what we're going to see more of. I mean, do people really want to say, yay, we're finally allowed back at pubs? As long as you've got a 90-minute slot and you've arranged that with all your friends and that they can all make it at that precise time and nothing extra comes up and nobody is allowed to be late, otherwise they can't join you late because then they're in a different slot and all that whole shit. No, it takes the fun out of it. It's like then you're back at school, except with alcohol, legally. That's the difference they make here. The way I see it, this isn't really going to work. This is going to come back to the smaller pubs, except of course then the smaller pubs operate on a tighter profit margin, in which case they're going to be having to charge more per pint of beer. So yeah, you got Wetherspoons being the low end bracket, but the independent retailers are of course going to be charging significantly more, in which case unless they got something really special going on, people aren't going to see the point of spending 2, 3, even 4 times the amount of money for the same thing that they can buy in a supermarket and enjoy at home with their friends. So it's really fucking things over. But you know that's hardly a surprise to hear from this channel, really. So they say that the law's in place. Pubs and restaurants must take reasonable steps to stop people who won't comply from coming in, or they could face a £1,000 fine. What are the reasonable steps, and what is it precisely that they need to include? And how are you going to cross-reference these names and numbers? You're then going to ask to cross-reference ID, and also then what? Send them a text message. What if somebody doesn't have a phone? Are they then fucked? Great, good to know. And this isn't even mentioning the vaccine passport trial that's being suggested. Yeah, good fucking luck with that. As I say, that is what is going to provide the independent pubs and smaller businesses with being able to survive. So, Carl Ford, let's use him as a jumping off point, an accountant based in Tamworth, told the BBC he was frustrated and confused by the rules, stating, "I feel like it's almost like going back to school." On the same page, Carl. Why you have to sign in and out. I don't understand why I have to do this in a restaurant or a pub, but I don't need to do this in a supermarket where you have a free-for-all. People don't have to sign in, and they can pick up fruit with their hands. And we've been saying that the whole time, haven't we? That's a good bloody point. That, yeah, you can of course mingle. Social distancing isn't considered in supermarkets, and yeah, you can pick stuff up and put it back down. And I suppose, from what I understand, the only argument is to say, well, you're wearing a face mask then, in which case it must be 100% effective. I mean, it clearly must be. Otherwise, they would have more shops open so the people can spread out and go to different places in order to purchase their life-sustaining food and drink. Otherwise, it's clearly bullshit. Except, of course, they're not suggesting the face masks are 100% effective. So, what on earth is going on here? But moving on, in a joint statement, UK Hospitality, the British Beer and Pub Association, and the British Institute of Innkeeping said the rules would add more confusion and inconvenience for customers and staff. Yes, confusion and delay. So they also warned if indoors payments were not permitted from 12th of April, then some pubs, particularly in rural areas with poor broadband, would be unable to take payments at all. Well, in that case, you're going to have to go old-fashioned. One or two ways. Either take checks for your pint, which I can almost imagine. But, you know, that's where it comes back to putting it on my tab. That's where it comes from, so why not? And the other, you might remember if you're as old as me, but you'd have the stamp slider. I forget the name of the device now, but you take the credit card and then you'd have the roller to go along and back in order to make an almost carbon copy of the card in order to invoice later on. And that's the way that you do it. So you can still do that because you don't actually need the internet for that. You just take those invoices to the bank after hours, or the next day. That's still after hours. So they are the other ways to do it. Not quite as quick, of course, because with both of these, you got to wait for somebody to validate it the other side. But that is one way, and if you're in a more rural area, chances are you got a better understanding of who the people are. So that's going to work a lot better. So they did go on to say, pubs will already be trading at a loss when they reopen with all the existing restrictions and COVID secure measures in place, adding further disproportionate and discriminatory measures threatens the very survival of thousands of businesses. And yeah, that's very true. But to be quite frank, I don't see the government is really giving a shit about that, and therefore it all comes down to individuals. And that is where there is definitely actually a bit of hope. That it used to be, it's the cheapest thing, I don't care, let's go for it. Whereas now people seem to be more aware of the supply chain issues that affect what they're deciding to purchase. So globalization isn't such a cut and dry thing anymore, for two reasons. One is, tariffs and protectionism, and the rest of the European Union being cunts. And the other is people being more aware of where their things are coming from and not wishing to support despot leaders like China, for example. And therefore, there are actually differences being made, voting with their feet instead of being bribed, that carry more weight. So, as black pilled as we are in this channel, it's worth throwing out the white pills where they fit. So, yeah, there is definitely hope. But that's it for me, going into the Easter weekend. So, have a good one. I hope your Easter weekend works. Have some fun time with the little ones, Easter egg hunts and all that goodness. And let's not forget the origin of Easter, why it's there. Spend a little time, a little spiritual moment, of course, with the sense of gratitude. But let me know what you guys think down below about all this. Do you think, is it going to catch on? Is it going to be something that's just easily fraudulent and therefore, ain't going to last at all? Or it's going to make a change, it's going to be a class warfare change in a way between bigger chains and smaller chains of pubs? Either way, let me know down below. Always intrigued to hear what you have to say. And of course, as always, until next time, have a good one.